Hi, everybody. It's Christine from the Easton Library, and welcome to this episode of Easton Community Book Chat. Today is really special. I have a really special guest, and I'm really excited for you to meet her. She is the author of the best-selling YA novel, Elatsoe, and I'd like you to meet Darcie Little Badger. Darcie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So excited because I have been excited about your book since I first read a review for it and before we even ordered it. So I'm so glad you could be here. So Darcie, and Darcie, you're local. You are a Shelton resident. That's great. So you fit right into our community
Yeah, we've
plan here.
been in Shelton. Yeah. I think we've been here. So I moved a lot as a child, but we've been here for 7 years. So for us, that's a long time.
Yeah, yeah. And you're a member of the Lipan Apache tribe of Texas. Is that where you grew up?
I did spend a lot of time in Texas. My parents actually are originally from Texas. My mom is from McAllen, and that's where she met my father. And I went to college there, spent high school there. But like I've also lived in Iowa and Minnesota and Vermont and Connecticut and Malaysia and
Oh,
New
wow.
Jersey and California, and the list goes on. But I do
Yeah.
consider Texas my hometown. I guess if you could say that, the cumulative amount of time I've spent is longest there.
Yeah, yeah. That is probably a great experience for a writer, I would assume.
Yeah, it really has been. You meet a lot of people, and it's after a time this strange thing happens. It's almost like you meet someone and they're a stranger, but they have characteristics that remind you of someone else. So it's almost like you're meeting a different version of the same person, like over and over again.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's almost science fiction, alternate universes. And no,
Ah,
it's just that people share interests, or they have they have the same hairstyle.
yeah, makes sense. The world's a small place sometimes, right?
Yeah, it really is.
All right. So we have your book, and this is the beautiful cover. I want to make sure it doesn't get glare on there.
Ooh. Oh
Absolutely
my God.
gorgeous. And the illustrations are beautiful too. And we currently have it on our Best of 2020 display in the YA section
Oh my
because
gosh.
it has gotten so many great reviews. And I put a little thing on here of one of the reviews, and Kirkus called it a brilliant, engaging debut, and a bunch of other really nice things, which must be wonderful for your first novel.
Yeah, this has certainly been it's been a difficult year, but just like the positive support that people have shown this book has both surprised me, and also I'm like really grateful for it. And there's the reviews, but there's also I sometimes like get reader feedback like, oh, I enjoyed this book, and then they send a picture of their dog like sleeping next to the book, which is the
Oh,
best thing. It's my
oh, that's
favorite thing.
fantastic.
Yeah, but it's been wonderful, and I love seeing it in like a library. Although I've never actually seen in person the book in a library for obvious reasons, but
Yeah.
I wish I could see that display.
Well, there will come a time where you'll be able to be back in a library, which is
Yes.
great, and then you can see it on the shelf, and it'll be great. So can you tell us a little bit about Elatsoe and the characters and what happens?
Yes, it's a book about a Lipton Apache teen named Ellie, that's short for Elatsoe, and she lives in a version of the United States that's very similar to ours, with a few exceptions. There's things like fairy rings where people can almost instantaneously be transported from one point on the world to another. There's also, curses, vampires, monsters, and Ellie herself has this ability that was kind of passed down from her sixth great grandmother to her, through the generations, to wake up the ghosts of animals. And so that was a lot of fun. And it's kind of interesting to see the different supernatural powers that these animals bring into Ellie's life. But she actually, the main plot of the book is her cousin is killed in this really creepy town named Willoughby. And unfortunately, the way that he dies is set up to resemble an accident. So the authorities, they figure it was a car accident, but Ellie knows that he was murdered, and she knows who murdered him. But the question is, why did this doctor murder her cousin? How did she do it? And what's going on with this town? So the book is an investigation where she and her family and friends and her ghost dog, Kirby, and other animal ghosts kind of come in and try to figure out what's going on and bring justice for her cousin.
So I love that it has so many aspects of like this speculative fiction and this fantasy, and then this sort of native history, and it's a mystery too. So it's all these really fantastic things put together. That's why, probably one reason that makes it so special.
It was a lot of fun, and personally, I'm a big fan of science fiction and fantasy, but I also love a good mystery. Like,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, of course, Agatha Christie novels, I would just like read them all. They were so wonderfully accessible in the library. And even today, it would be hard for me to write something without throwing a little bit of mystery in there.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, because that's one of the questions I was going to ask you, is like, what kind of books do you like to read? So mystery, all ages kind of mystery, or like, do you read YA stuff?
I have to say that I do, but these days I mostly read horror books, and I don't know if it's because the world is just in such scary shape right now, or I just love horror ever since I was a kid. I would read the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark with the original illustrations that were really like scary. They gave me nightmares, but I loved it. But yeah, so it's a lot of horror books, a lot of killer mermaids and that kind of thing. But I also do enjoy short stories, especially fantasy and science fiction. And so I'll get anthologies with a lot of those in them as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm sure you get asked this question a lot, and no pressure, but are you working on another book?
Yes, I am. And I've written the end of edits on this book that's coming out later in this year. I believe October is when they're thinking of publishing it, but it's called A Snake Falls to Earth. And kind of similar to Elatsoe, it's a fantasy, and it does involve a teen who lives in our world, but it also involves this fantasy world of spirits and monsters. And the book itself is strongly based on these very specific Lipon Apache storytelling structures and themes. So it's been a lot of fun to write, and I'm interested to see how readers like it. I really hope they enjoy it, but it's definitely, I call it a two-world fantasy spanning the near future Earth and this completely invented world, full of characters that are also based on figures from the stories that I grew up hearing from my mother. I should point that I'm biracial, so my father is Irish American. So you see in Elatsoe, there are things like fairies and stuff that I get from his side of the family. My mother is Lipon Apache. I'm also Lipon Apache. We're a matrilineal society. So a lot of knowledge was passed down from my great grandmother to my grandmother to my mother. But I do put in this book figures like animal people based on the characters in the story that my mother would tell me growing up. So I hope people enjoy it. It was a lot of fun to write, for sure.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. And I love that. I mean, every culture has such great sort of these myths and these cool stories back that they like to pass on. And I love that you use those, and change them up and use some of their aspects in your own writing. It's really interesting, and it's that makes it fun and kind of something that you learn, which is great.
Oh, that's good to know. And yeah, it's the kind of thing where definitely our culture is like an evolving and thriving and living thing. So it's really cool to see how, for example, these monsters would function in the near future Earth and so on.
Yeah, that's great. So obviously, because I'm holding up my book here, we have Elatsoe available at the Easton Library. We have it in hardcover here available for checkout, and we have also a downloadable audiobook for checkout. So this is available in the library or for curbside pickup if you want. So just go to our website and hit the search the catalog button and you can find it. And Darcie, again, thank you so much. This was so fantastic to have you join us. And best of luck with your new book. I can't wait until we get it. And I hope everything, your winter, it's very snowy today. So enjoy your day and be careful out there. And thank you again.
Thank you. And you be safe too. Yeah, I can't believe how fast the snow is falling right now.
Yes, it's been quite a snowy one, right? All right, Darcie, again, thank you so much. And Easton, thanks for joining us for this episode of Easton Library Community Book Chat. See you soon.